In this video, we will discuss my favorite 4 Homage watches under $20. I've reviewed all of them and I fell in love with them. Homage watches aim to capture the essence of luxury timepieces without the high price tag. The value received matters because enthusiasts appreciate the craftsmanship, the design, and features reminiscent of prestigious brands. It's about striking a balance between affordability and a sense of owning a piece that pays homage to iconic watches, offering a satisfying experience without the premium cost. As I've mentioned, I've actually reviewed all of these 4 watches already, and I've left the links to these reviews in the description below the video. On top of that, I've left the links to the listings where I got these watches from, so make sure to check them out if you're after a sharp price. And now, without further ado, let's get in and discuss these 4 Homage watches. Also, let me just point out that I will be doing a comprehensive lume test. That means a lume test across the 4 watches. So you'll see all 4 of them in front of you and which lume actually performs better, which one's brighter, which one has better longevity. But we'll do that all the way at the end of the video. And now sit back and enjoy this quite an interesting video. First up, we've got the Poedagar P613. It's a sport watch with an integrated steel bracelet. Plenty of standout feature in this piece, such as a stainless steel bracelet, gorgeous yard floorboard dial, which is emerald green around the pinions and fading to a deep shade at the perimeter. It's got a date window, Mercedes-style hands, and batten indices covered in lume. The surprise is the formidable luminosity, brightness, and longevity at this $13 price tag. I know it's hard to believe, but this watch here is just $13. That's it. This is quite special. The case sides, the lugs get a sandblast effect. That is a fine brushing technique that results in almost a matte finish. It visually reduces signs of wear and tear, hiding any imperfections as you wear it along the years to come. The sculpted case gets many facets and grooves, causing plentiful and unique light play effects. The lugs curve downward aggressively to fit even the slender wrist, so take a look at how it looks on my 6.5-inch wrist. In regards to dimensions, we get a diameter of 41 mm, a lug-to-lug length of 52 mm, a height of 10.9 mm, and a weight of 127 grams. But that was before I removed any of the links. After removing 2 links from either side, I got a weight of 105 grams. On the underside, we get a snap-back case pack, warranting the splash-proof 30 meters of water resistance. The push-pull crown is relatively large for convenient time adjustment, and it's actually partially guarded. Now the dial here is a 5-star place, rich emerald green that fades into black on the edges. The hands are in stark contrast to the matte dial, making legibility crystal clear. Now, as I mentioned, the lume test, that's coming at the end of the video. Now let's talk about the Scamay 9288. So this is a throwback to the 1970s, to a very famous Tissot homage. Let's talk about this one. Essentially, this is a retro-style sport watch with an integrated bracelet, but all you'll be paying for this piece is $15. Now, the Scamay did a fantastic job at taking the key attributes of the success formula of the PRX and applied it to their watch. The piece oozes charm and carries a classy vintage stance that is so regarded in the contemporary times. For your dosh, you get quite a bit, so a timeless classic inspired design, stainless steel bracelet and clasp, domed crystal, day and date complication, 30 meters of water resistance, meaning it is splash proof, and a dependable and accurate Japanese quartz movement. In regards to the dimensions, we get a diameter of 40 millimeters, a lug-to-lug length of 52 millimeters, we get a height of 11.2 millimeters, but that's mostly due to the domed crystal. A lug-to-lug width of 25 millimeters because it is an integrated bracelet that tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. The weight, after I've removed 7 links to fit my 6.5-inch wrist, is just 115 grams. What struck me initially as I picked up the watch was the heft and the overall aesthetics of the watch. From the almost matte dial to minimize reflections to the slightly domed crystal, emphasizing the vintage-inspired look, the case is strict with plentiful angles. The case walls are sculpted in a minimalistic design. You will notice the downward slant of the lugs. The bracelet has fine lateral brushing style, and there are plenty of short links. Their reflections suppress and disguise the different textures and polished surfaces of the case edges and the bracelet. But also, very importantly, the short links actually mean that you can adjust the watch to almost any wrist size, even the slender ones, like my own, 6.5 inches. And even though it's a butterfly clasp, but we can still adjust because of the short links. The dial here is very special. It's almost a matte finish. It has a vertical brushed effect which manages to take advantage of light play and improve legibility due to the contrast. Under the single dome crystal, visually it seems like the dial is somewhat concave and is almost basin-like. All indices are applied, single battens with slivers of lume edged in chrome. At the 12 o'clock position, we do get a double batten though. At 3 o'clock, we have the day and date window. The date can be set in Japanese or English. The minute track is right on the edge of the dial. Now, if you ask me, this piece is very special. It's a very contemporary design. It doesn't try to homage something that's overly expensive, something that's only a few $100, but it does so with style, and I love the fluidity of this bracelet. When it sits on top of your wrist, it literally feels like scales that are just wrapping your wrist. This is a really good quality watch. I like it. And again, the price point here is $14.80, I think I paid for it. So just under $15. And as with all the watches I'm reviewing today, I will be leaving links to these watches and their listings in the description below the video. For number 3, I want to talk about the Celebrations dial. So this is actually a homage from Aknight, a very budget watch, $16. That's all I paid for it. It's got a very good diameter here, 38.9 millimeters. It's got, well, yeah, protruding end links, but still, it sits almost on any wrist size. It sits on my 6.5 inch wrist without any overhang. And I love that it's a fun watch to wear. It's an attention grabber, and at the same time, it's a tongue-in-cheek sort of watch, but it homages an iconic brand, an iconic design, and it does it very well. Let me tell you all about it. In a way, the dial is like a personality test. You can either see the balloons, the balls, candy, or soap bubbles when you look at the dial. With the dimensions, we get a diameter of 38.9 millimeters. Due to protruding end links, we end up with 52.8 millimeters for the lug-to-lug measurement, a height of 11.4 millimeters, and a weight of 130 grams before removing any links, 112 grams after I removed 4 links to fit my 6.5 inch wrist. The case has a glossy polished styling. The polish is smooth, no blotching or grazing on the sides nor on the top of the case. Note the gentle curvature of the case on the sides. The case walls are sculpted in a pleasing and almost luxurious fashion. The transition to the top of the case all the way to the bezel is smooth, yet the separation of the layers is distinct. The steel links of the bracelet are held together by push pins. The outer and middle links are brushed with polished sides, in line with the case. We get an unsigned butterfly clasp here. Quite rudimentary, but not without reason considering the price point. The dial is where the magic happens. It gets a turquoise glossy dial with a lacquered texture. The scattered bubbles are edged in chrome and mostly weighted towards the lower half of the dial. The applied batten indices are clearly visible at and above the 3 and 9 o'clock positions. Now, the watch of course gets mineral crystal on top. There's just a snap back on the back here, and that means it is a splash proof watch, so 30 meters water resistant. This is a nice conversation starter for the pub. That's what I think. Anyways, let's move on to the 4th watch now. Let's talk about that one as well. At number 4, we've got a Macao octagonal quartz watch. It's got a blue sunburst dial effect. This was a fresh, avant-garde-ish touch that made a sidestep from the circle and rectangular case designs. To be fair, this Macao watch I'll be talking about today is not a statement of mechanical prowess, but it's a value-packed watch with iconic looks, and it gets a feel of a much more expensive piece. And again, the price point here is just $15. The dimensions are a diameter of 40 millimeters, lug-to-lug length of 49.5 millimeters, a height of just 8.5 millimeters, so ultra thin, and a lug width of 24 millimeters. The weight here is just 52 grams. Now, looking at the profile of the case, we see a flat and strict design. The flatness accents the ultra thin case, but again, ultra thin for the $15 price tag. And it does actually carry a Japanese Miyota quartz movement here. The full case is brushed here, vertical brush, and it's rather deep or crude or rough, however you want to call it, but it's distinct. It looks really pleasing. The light play on this octagonal bezel is great. I love the fact that there are no screws here. It's just the bezel. There are lots of angles, lots of light play, reflections. But it's all sort of toned down by the time you get to the sunburst blue dial. The sunburst effect is very prominent. The deep and rich blue looks almost like a satin blue. The glossy dial spreads out the sunburst rays from the pinions all the way to the perimeter evenly. All indices are actually applied on this dial. There is no lume on the Macao watch, unfortunately. Now, another standout feature of this watch is the fact that its crown is also octagonal in shape, and it gets a blue crystal on the tip, which is a very nice touch. So that blue tip is in line with the blue dial as well as the blue genuine leather strap. This is really special. The blue strap here is leather. It's signed with the brand as well as the words genuine leather, and we get a fully stainless steel butterfly clasp here. It's very solidly built and it aligns the strap perfectly. This is a very interesting watch, and I've put it on here because all it cost me was $15 and it just looks classy. I like it very much indeed. Anyway, so these are the 4 watches I want to talk about, but we're not finished because now we have to do the lume test. Evidently, the Macao gets no lume, not on the dial, nor on the indices or the hands. The OP Celebrations Homage and the PRX Homage get slivers of lume on the indices, but they fade almost immediately. Only the hands are decipherable, and even those do fade quite quickly, while the Poedagar shines well above the rest in terms of brightness and longevity. Now, interestingly enough, the hands fade first, and only then the indices. So there we go. 4 watches later, we get to see the best homages as I see them, under $20. I think all of these 4 watches are very interesting in their own way. Now, I have left the links to the comprehensive reviews of every single watch in the description below the video, as well as on the end screen, so check them out if you're interested in the intricate details. Also, I've left the links to the listings of where I picked up these watches, so do check these out if you want to purchase at a good price. Now, thanks for watching. Hopefully you have subscribed. If you haven't, please do that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.